Back in the fall of 2021, I was working as a traveling nurse in rural Pennsylvania. The money was good, but it meant a lot of late nights driving between hospitals on roads that barely showed up on GPS. This particular night, I'd just finished a 12-hour shift at a small hospital in Clearfield County. It was around 2 a.m., and I had about an hour's drive back to my rental in State College. The route took me through nothing but farmland and forest. No streetlights, no houses. Just my headlights cutting through the dark. I was maybe 20 minutes into the drive when I noticed headlights in my rearview mirror. Now, seeing another car on that road at 2 a.m. wasn't impossible, but it was unusual. I didn't think much of it at first, just figured it was another night owl heading home. But then the car started getting closer. I mean, really close. Close enough that the headlights were flooding my entire cabin. I tapped my brakes a couple times, thinking maybe they wanted to pass, but they didn't pass. They just stayed right on my tail. I sped up a little. They sped up too. I slowed down. They slowed down. At this point, my heart's starting to pound. I grabbed my phone from the cup holder and tried to pull up the map, looking for the nearest town, the nearest gas station, anywhere with people and lights. But out there was nothing for miles. I decided to test something. There was a turn coming up that led to absolutely nowhere. Just an old logging road that dead-ended in the woods. No reason for anyone to take it unless they were following me specifically. I took the turn. The sedan took it too. My stomach dropped. This wasn't coincidence anymore. I floored it down that logging road, gravel spraying everywhere. My car bouncing over potholes I couldn't see. The sedan stayed with me, those headlights never wavering. Then the road ended. I slammed on my brakes and my car skidded to a stop maybe 10 feet from a wall of trees. I was trapped. Behind me, the sedan had stopped too, about 30 yards back, just sitting there. Engine running, headlights pointed right at me. I sat there for what felt like forever, my hands shaking on the wheel. I was trying to decide what to do. Call 911. They'd never find me out here in time. Try to drive around the sedan. The road was too narrow. Then the sedan's driver door opened. A figure stepped out. I couldn't make out any features with the headlights behind them. Just a silhouette. Tall. Standing completely still. They started walking toward my car. I don't know what came over me. Panic, I guess. I threw my car in reverse and floored it, driving backward down that logging road as fast as I could. The figure had to jump out of the way as I shot past the sedan. I heard something scrape against my passenger side, probably a branch, and then I was back on the main road. I didn't stop driving until I hit State College. I pulled into a gas station parking lot and just sat there, shaking for probably 20 minutes. The next day I looked at my car. There was a long scratch down the passenger side, but that wasn't what made my blood run cold. There were handprints in the dust on my rear window. Not from me, not from anyone I knew, just these smeared handprints like someone had been pressing against the glass while I was driving away. I put in for a transfer the next week. I don't drive those back roads anymore. And I try not to think about how close that figure got to my car before I managed to reverse, or what they were planning to do if I hadn't. I'm a long-haul trucker. Been doing it for about 8 years now. You spend that much time on the road, you see things, weird things, but nothing like what happened to me on I-80 through Nevada back in 2019. I was hauling a load of electronics from Sacramento to Salt Lake City. Left around 6 p.m., figuring I'd drive through the night and make good time. The route takes you through some of the emptiest country in America. Once you get past Reno, it's just desert and darkness for hundreds of miles. Around 1 a.m., I started getting tired. Not dangerous tired, but enough that I knew I should stop for coffee. There's this rest stop I'd used before, maybe 50 miles past Lovelock. Nothing fancy, just a parking area, some bathrooms, and a few vending machines. No lights except for the ones over the bathroom building. When I pulled in, there was only one other vehicle there, a white van, parked at the far end of the lot, facing away from the bathrooms. I remember thinking it was weird that they'd parked so far from everything, but I didn't dwell on it. People are weird. I grabbed some coffee from the vending machine and was heading back to my truck when I noticed the van's back doors were open. Not just cracked, wide open, and there was someone sitting in the back. I couldn't see them clearly from that distance. Just a shape. A person, sitting perfectly still, facing out into the desert. Not moving, not doing anything. I got this real bad feeling, the kind that makes your skin crawl. But I told myself I was being paranoid. Maybe they were just camping. Maybe they were looking at the stars. People do that out here. I got back in my truck and was about to pull out when I glanced in my side mirror. The person in the van had turned around. They were looking directly at me. I could see their face now, lit up by my tail lights. It was a woman, middle-aged maybe, with this completely blank expression. She was just staring, not waving, not calling out, just staring at my truck like she was memorizing it. Then she smiled. It wasn't a friendly smile. It was too wide, too deliberate, like she wanted me to see it. I got out of there, hit the highway doing 80, and didn't slow down for the next 100 miles. Here's the thing that still bothers me, though. About an hour later, I stopped at a truck stop for more coffee. I was talking to another driver and I mentioned the rest stop, asked if he'd ever stopped there. He got this weird look on his face and said, "You mean the one that closed down 5 years ago?" I told him no, the one with the bathroom building and the vending machines. He shook his head, said there used to be a rest stop about 50 miles past Lovelock, but they shut it down after some incidents. Removed the vending machines, locked up the bathrooms, took down the signs, said it's just an empty parking lot now. I told him that couldn't be right. I'd just been there. I'd bought coffee from the vending machine. He just looked at me like I was crazy. I drove that route again a few months later. During the day this time, I wanted to see the rest stop in daylight, prove to myself it was real. There was nothing there, just an empty parking lot with weeds growing through the cracks. No bathroom building, no vending machines, no lights. Just an old concrete pad where something used to be. I don't take that route anymore, and I try not to think about the woman in the van, sitting in the back of that rest stop that doesn't exist, waiting for someone to pull in. My name's Derek and I live in Oregon. This happened back in 2017 when I was driving home from my girlfriend's place in Bend. We'd had a fight, one of those stupid ones that feels huge at the time, but you can't even remember what it was about later. I left around 11 p.m. too angry to sleep, figuring the drive would clear my head. The route from Bend to Portland takes you through the Cascade Mountains. Beautiful during the day, but at night it's just miles of dark forest pressing in from both sides of the road. No cell service for long stretches, no houses, nothing. I was maybe 40 minutes outside of Bend when I saw someone standing on the side of the road. It was a man, probably in his 30s, wearing jeans and a flannel shirt. He had his thumb out. Classic hitchhiker pose. Now, I don't usually pick up hitchhikers. My dad drilled that into me when I was learning to drive. But something about this guy made me slow down. Maybe it was the cold. It was October, and the temperature up in those mountains drops fast at night. Maybe I was just feeling guilty about the fight and wanted to do something good. I pulled over. The man jogged up to my window and I got a better look at him. Friendly face, normal looking. He said his car had broken down a few miles back and his phone was dead. Asked if I could give him a ride to the next town. I said sure. He thanked me and got in the passenger seat. For the first few minutes everything was fine. We made small talk. He said his name was Paul. Said he was heading to Portland for work. Some kind of sales job. Normal stuff. Then he asked if I was married. The question caught me off guard. I said no, I had a girlfriend. He nodded and asked where she was tonight. Something about the way he asked made me uncomfortable, like he already knew the answer and was testing me. I told him she was back in Bend. He nodded again and went quiet. A few more minutes passed. Then he said, "So you're all alone out here?" It wasn't a question. I glanced over at him. He wasn't looking at the road anymore. He was looking at me. And he was smiling, but it wasn't the friendly smile from before. It was something else, something cold. I felt my hands tighten on the steering wheel. "Yeah," I said, trying to keep my voice steady. "Just me." "That's good," he said. "That's real good." And then his hand moved toward his jacket pocket. I don't know what he was reaching for. I didn't wait to find out. I yanked the wheel hard to the right and slammed on the brakes at the same time. The car skidded off the road onto the gravel shoulder, and in the chaos, I reached across and shoved open his door. "Get out," I said. I don't know where the courage came from. "Get out right now." He didn't argue. He just smiled that cold smile and stepped out of the car. As he closed the door, he leaned down to the window and said, "You're smarter than the others." Then he walked off into the forest. Didn't look back. Just walked into those dark trees and disappeared. I drove the rest of the way home at about 90 miles an hour. Called my girlfriend when I finally got cell service. We didn't fight anymore that night. I never reported it to the police. What would I even say? A guy was creepy and I kicked him out of my car. They'd probably tell me I was overreacting. But I think about what he said sometimes. Smarter than the others. I wonder how many others there were. I wonder what happened to them out there on those dark mountain roads. And I wonder if he's still out there, waiting for the next person kind enough to stop. I grew up in a small town in Kentucky, the kind of place where everyone knows everyone and nothing ever happens. After college, I moved to Louisville for work, but I still drive back home a few times a year to visit my parents. The drive isn't long, maybe 2 hours, but there's this shortcut I used to take through the backroads that cuts about 20 minutes off. It's beautiful during the day. Rolling hills, horse farms, that classic Kentucky scenery. But at night, it's different. The road narrows down to one lane in places, there's no cell service, and the trees hang over the road like a tunnel. This was last December. I'd stayed at my parents' place for Christmas dinner and left around 10 p.m. I was tired and just wanted to get home, so I decided to take the shortcut. About 15 minutes into the back roads, I came around a bend and had to slam on my brakes. There was a car stopped in the middle of the road. An old sedan, maybe from the 90s, with its hazard lights blinking. The driver's door was open, but I couldn't see anyone inside or around the vehicle. I sat there for a minute trying to figure out what to do. The car was blocking the entire road. I couldn't get around it without driving into the ditch. I honked my horn. Nothing. No one came out. Against my better judgment, I got out of my car. I left the engine running and the headlights on. I walked up to the sedan slowly, calling out, "Hello, anyone there? Do you need help?" No response. When I got close enough to see inside, the car was empty. Keys still in the ignition, engine off, hazard lights still blinking. There was a cup of coffee in the cup holder still warm. I could feel the heat coming off it when I reached in to check. Whoever was driving this car had left very, very recently. I looked around, trying to see if anyone was in the trees or on the side of the road. Nothing, just darkness and silence. That's when I heard it. A voice, coming from the woods on my left. It was saying my name, not yelling it, just saying it. Calm and quiet, like someone having a conversation. "Emily!" I froze. My heart was pounding so hard I could hear it in my ears. "Emily, come here." The voice was closer now, and it sounded wrong, like someone was trying to imitate a human voice but didn't quite get it right. The cadence was off, the tone was flat. I ran back to my car. I didn't even close the sedan's door. I just ran, jumped in my car, threw it in reverse, and backed up until I could pull a U-turn. As I was turning around, my headlights swept across the tree line, and I saw someone standing there, just at the edge of the woods, maybe 30 feet away. A figure, tall and thin, standing perfectly still. I couldn't see a face, just a shape, but I could tell they were looking at me. I didn't wait to see more. I floored it and drove the long way home, adding an hour to my trip. I didn't care. I just wanted to be away from that road. The next day I called my mom and asked if anything weird had ever happened on that shortcut. She got quiet for a moment, then said there'd been some disappearances in that area over the years, a few hikers, a couple of drivers who'd taken the back roads at night. Nobody ever found anything, no bodies, no evidence, just abandoned cars and people who were never seen again. She asked why I wanted to know. I told her it was nothing, just curious. I never told her what happened. I never told anyone, actually, until now. I don't take that shortcut anymore. I take the highway every time, no matter how tired I am or how late it gets. And whenever I'm driving past that turnoff, I keep my eyes straight ahead. Because sometimes, just for a second, I swear I can hear something calling my name from the trees. And I know that if I ever stop to listen, I won't be driving home.